Welcome to today's research doodle. My name is Perry the Platypus. Today we are going to talk about how to use our imaginations to collectively heal society. And no, I am not endorsing maladaptive daydreaming. That's a totally other thing. So just keep your fan fiction imaginations out of this one, okay? This is actually that would be a useful tool for this actually. So keep your fan fiction imaginations, but keep it PG. That's what I will ask for you. So as you know, I believe that if we provide love, attention, and resources to the most marginalized people in the world and put them as a priority, the world itself will fully heal because helping them will ultimately help us. Also, I believe unconventional solutions are required for our modern problems because obviously the modern solutions are not working. So let's get a little crazy. The research paper we're covering today is South African Fantasy, Identity and Spirituality by Anastasia Apostolidis. I don't know how to say the last name, but it's okay because I'm gonna write it up here. Okay, so here are a few terms I would like to define before we hop into the content. First one being Rainbow Nation. What is a Rainbow Nation? If you don't know, South Africa went through apartheid. What is apartheid? Good question. Apartheid is a type of systemic racism. Oh, where did this idea of apartheid come from? America. We really spread our evils throughout the world. We do not give a fuck. So let's talk a little more about apartheid though. Basically, apartheid segregated people through categories of white, black, brown, mixed. This attitude extended into school systems, so white kids would go to white schools, black kids would go to black schools, mixed kids would go to mixed schools, brown kids would go to brown schools. And if that's what they did to the school system, imagine what they did with neighborhoods. Imagine the social attitudes towards certain groups. Restaurants. The point I'm trying to make is that this divisive ideology seeped into all parts of South Africa and it just became a norm in society. So when apartheid was put to an end, like segregation in America was put to an end, although we still see effects of it today, very harmful effects, the term Rainbow Nation came about. It's a beautiful name to celebrate all the diversity in South Africa, but like most governments do, they put a pretty name on very dark histories instead of confronting the nuances of this dark history. And that is what a Rainbow Nation is. Just a quick debrief on this whole Rainbow Nation thing. What is Rainbow Nation? Rainbow Nation is a pretty term people came up with to cover up the dark history of South Africa's apartheid. What is apartheid? A form of colonization. And what is colonization? Colonization is a system that allows other people to enforce their power over others for financial gain. Very selfish thing to do. But what drives people to act in this way? I would argue that one of the core reasons people enforce their power onto others is because they feel insecure in themselves. And so to feel like they are something in this world, they have to do something to other people and push them around. Which is why I believe being self-assured and being yourself is one of the most effective ways to fight against the systems that are oppressing us. Self-assuredness is a tool, but that's another video. I just wanted to say my thoughts. Back to the paper. Basically, what the author wanted to focus on was being a teenager in a post-apartheid society. And one of the things she highlighted was that teens are inevitably going to have fragmented identities and a fragmented sense of spirituality. The reason this is because when you're a teenager, first of all, being a teenager is incredibly hard. This is the first time in your life you're going to experience all these difficult feelings. It's one thing to know about them, it's another thing to experience them for the first time, which means this is probably the most important time for you to develop those emotional tools of how to deal with them, emotional psychological tools. So for a South African teenager, they're going to go out into the world, they're going to go to school. If you're whatever category of race you're in, and I know we shouldn't water people down to that, but in the case of the government, that's how they treat people. You're going to hear multiple things about your race. You're going to have to go back home and you're going to have multiple expectations of how to act and behave. Then when you socialize, you're going to want to fit in with your friends. All of you are going through all these confusing questions at the same time, but honestly, you're teenagers, you just want to fit in with each other, and I'm pretty sure some adults, a lot of adults feel that way too, because we're just post-teenagers. So because the world is telling you 10,000 different things, and you have 10,000 different responsibilities, and you're at a stage in your life where you're experiencing 10,000 different emotions, it's kind of hard to see yourself for who you really are or what you are capable of being. And the next point I'm trying to get to is that this is why the imagination is an important tool, because imagination can also shape identity in addition to what you're experiencing from the world, from your personal life, and from your own internal speak. The paper itself says something along the terms of identity is the bridge to the imagination. And the last point I want to make before we move on into dissecting the paper is that fantasy is actually one of the best genres to reach every single person, because it helps you let your guards down, it opens your mind, and it gives you a safe mental space to contemplate different realities. Not to mention, fantasy activates your imagination, and your imagination is the birthplace of innovation, empathy, figuring out how to fight injustice, and many more beautiful things. So just because it's a little childish does not mean we should play it off. So there's the book, which she refers to as an object of reflection. There's you who's reading the book. And then there's your imagination creating a secondary world, filling in your own blanks based on your own experiences. I think my favorite quote from this paper is, "Good fantasy pulls you into its own world and breaks you out of the mainstream so you can ask your own questions and let your guard down." So basically it becomes a tool for exploration. When you pair your imagination with a fantasy story, a lot of good things can happen, because then your imagination becomes a tool for yourself and for society. For example, if you are struggling with self-esteem and you see a character that speaks to you, maybe they have the same circumstances as you that aren't ideal, but you see them have a good positive outcome, you can start to do things that bring you into a better situation or have hope for yourself. Or if you are having trouble understanding certain parts of society, you can explore that through a character. You could see their good decisions, their bad decisions, and you could prevent yourself from making those bad decisions. I know that would have been helpful for me in some parts of my life. Because South Africa during the time of oppression had created so many different identities, it will inevitably have created so many different circumstances. So it's really hard for people to see each other for what they're going through and who they really are when they're so focused on their own complex life. So through fantasy, you can connect through all these characters and see people and connect with them without having to go through every single discourse. When you see people for who they really are through a character that you're rooting for or you connect with, or just a character you don't even like but you're kind of forced to understand them because it's part of the plot, it connects all of you, which means all the fragmentation can be reduced and it can create something unifying within all of you, and it unifies you through love and wonder. My last point is South African fantasy embeds hope through its novels by focusing on themes like transculturation, transformation, hybridity. I'm sure that after going through a lot of separation, that merging different themes together can give people a lot of hope. In a society where people were so grouped together just by the color of their skin, and now they're seeing novels where they're celebrated for that, I'm sure it creates a lot of healing. Sometimes these are conversations we can only have within ourselves. It's kind of hard to talk about it with other people. Or it could open up these conversations so people can have them with each other. So that was the whole research paper part. I would love to hear your thoughts and see if it sparked anything in your mind, or if you have a contrasting idea. I'm all for argument as long as it's appropriate. And now I will be discussing my own thoughts on this. So my thoughts on this is that taking the pen of destiny into your own hand is actually a really powerful thing to do, even if it's in a realm that is not realistic, because that actually could create the most powerful transformation inside of you. I always end my daily doodles by saying that what is one little thing you can do, and this paper gives me a lot of hope, because imagination is a tool that's accessible to literally every single person. We, on some level, the world tells us how to see ourselves, but our imagination is how we take back our power, and we can choose how we see ourselves. We can choose how we see the world, and we can write outcomes that people can't even predict. And I think that's a really awesome thing. And I also think we should embrace our weirdness, because that's how we get outcomes that nobody sees coming. And the unexpected is also a beautiful, beautiful thing. And since people can't expect it, they can't really retaliate, or because there's just gonna be a shock. I really like the unexpected, if you can't tell. Also, to all my fan fiction people out there, this is your sign to write that fan fiction, because we are complicated individuals. I'm not gonna tell you to keep it PG-13 or whatever, because that is your own free will, and I don't want to take that away from anyone ever. But I hope you write fan fictions that are so weird and complicated and will live in your brains for the rest of your lives and shape our collective imaginations, because we need that right now, and we need to stay united through our weirdness and our imaginations. So if you like this video, please let me know your thoughts. You could like, comment, and subscribe. I hope to continue this series. I'm actually having the time of my life learning, and I want to see if everyone else is having fun learning. And until next time.